My name is Kelly Dale with offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make the Double RAW Diamond Bracelet. Last week, I showed you how to make the Double RAW Ring. So if you want a smaller version to practice on first, I suggest going to that video. We'll put a direct link below in the video description box to that video so you can see it as well. We're going to be using a lot of the same materials that we used in last week's video. You're going to need 2 colors of a size 11 seed bead. Now, both of those colors of 11s need to be the same brand, meaning they both need to be Miyuki, both need to be Toho, whatever brand you're going to use. They just need to be the same brand. So you're going to need about 5 grams each of those. You're going to need 2.5 grams of a size 15 Miyuki seed bead. So no matter what brand you're using on the base, the Miyuki seed bead is going to be key to the top of your piece. Okay, so you're going to need, again, 2.5 grams of that. You're going to need about 6 grams of a mini Gemduo bead. Now the project is going to look best with the mini Gemduo beads, but if you have a mini duo or a mini super duo bead, that will probably work as well. It will look different from mine, but it will work. You're also going to need a less than 23 millimeter bicones. You're going to need your favorite clasp, 2 jump rings, your favorite beading thread. We're going to be using around 4 to 5 yards, depending on the size bracelet that you are going to need. And you're also going to need a size 12 beading needle. I know I heard some of you groan just then, but a size 12 is going to be the best for this project because you're going to be going through some of these beads multiple times. So a thinner thread like a 0.006 and a size 12 beading needle is going to be key for this project. So let's go ahead and get started. This is the ring I showed in last week's video. You can see how those mini Gemduos are going to sit on top in our project that we're going to do today. So the base of our project is going to look just like this. We're going to be doing the exact same size beads with the exact same counts. And I'm going to show you how to do that again. But when we get done, it's going to look completely different from the ring. The ring will still go really good with it if you're going to wear them together. But you can see there now how different that is going to look. So this is a red and black one. This one is my favorite. This is the marbled turquoise with the gold and a little bit of an amethyst in there as well. And today I'm going to be doing a denim or a Montana color for you. So as we get started with the stitch, the first thing that I like to do is I like to thread my needle and I like to test out which way I like the colors better on my project. You can see here today, I have my color laid out. I found that the green in the dragon thread has worked really, really well for both this and this color. It blends in really well with just almost any color. So this one is going to be really good considering that we have to, just like in last week's video, you know, you will see a smidge of thread. So if you want something that's really going to blend in well with your bead, so that's why I'm like using that green in the dragon thread. So you can see here, I have these separated. You want to designate one as your A and one as your B. So these are just my size 11 seed beads. This is all I'm going to be working with to start. So in this sample here, I have used the A is the blue and the B, which is the points, is this cream color. And on this one, I've used the cream for the A and the points for the B. So that's the first thing that you want to do once we kind of get started on the stitch is to decide which way you want these base colors to look. And then we can go to town. So I'm going to use this color for my A and this color for my B. So to start out, I have a comfortable length of thread, whatever that is for you, just thread that on there. And I have about 4 to 6 inches of a tail thread here after I have threaded on 4 of my A beads. Now with those 4 beads, My working thread is here at the top. My short tail is down here at the bottom. I'm going to pass back up through all 4 beads again. Hold that little tail just for a minute there as I pull all those threads through. And if you just pull it like this, you're going to get just a straight line of beads. So we have to continue on, and we have to go through the very first bead again so that it pulls it into that little box shape. There we go. Now we're going to be using the B's. So I pick up 1 B, pass through the A, pick up 1 B, pass through the A, pick up 1 B, pass through the A, and then one last time here, 1 B, and pass through the A. Now when I pass through this A, I'm going to go ahead and pass through the first B that I added as well. So I'm actually going to go through 2 beads at this time. So I finish up the row and do a step up. And I'll pull this through. So at this point, I have 4 A's in the middle and now 4 B's at the point. So we're ready to go on and add more boxes. So when I do a box, I always want to come out of the side B bead. Now, it doesn't matter if you're left-handed or right-handed and you come out of this side to work this way. Completely up to you. It's going to be the same way no matter what. So I'm going to take the needle now, pick up 4 A's, and come back through the same bead to make a circle, because you see my thread is coming out of the bottom of that B bead. So I'm going to come right back down through it again. If you are a loose stitcher, you'll want to go through those beads again. If you're a very, very tight stitcher, you can get by with not having to go through them again. But once I do that, I will pass through that first A that I threaded on. And then we pick up a B and go through the A. And I put my fingers on it to kind of pinch it, so that way it helps to keep my beadwork tight as I'm working. Now pick up a B and go through an A. And then pick up a B and go through the A. Now I can go ahead at the same time, just like I did a minute ago, and I can go through the A and the B. And remember, we always want to come out over here on this side B to add our next box. So I'm just going to continue through my beads to get into that location. Show you one more box and then we'll keep going. If you need, again, you need a slower primer on this, make sure to go back to my last 2 videos, which is the double raw ring, so that way you can see. So my thread is coming out of the top this time, so I'm going to come right back up through the same bead to make a circle. Again, if you're a loose stitcher, you may want to reinforce that. And then I will pass through the first A once more. Thread on a B, go through the next A, okay. Thread on a B, go through the A, and then thread on a B and go through the A. And now again, we want to come out over here so that we can get into position. So we're just going to continue to pass through the beads here. So now we can continue. So I'm sure you can guess what I'm going to tell you to do at this point. We are going to continue to do exactly what I just showed you until we reach the length of the bracelet that we need. But here are two things, well, actually three things you need to consider. Number one, you need to leave yourself about an inch to add your clasp. So if you want, you're going to use a bigger clasp, like a longer clasp, then you're going to need to leave more room for that clasp. The second thing is your base, the number of boxes that you make. So we made 3 so far. The number that you end up with has to be divisible by 3. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, you know, those things like that. It needs to be divisible by 3. Once I have my final count on the bracelet, I know it's divisible by 3. At the very end, I'm going to add one more draw box. That's our double right angle weave. So I'm going to do the whole bracelet divisible by 3 and then one extra box after that. So go ahead, do those draw boxes and we'll get started on that second row. So I have the length now of the bracelet that I want. And what we want to do at this point here at the very end, if your thread is exiting out of this last bead right here, if it's exiting up, all we want to do is just flip it over so that now we're working in a downward motion like this. Once we have it in that downward motion, then we're going to take the needle and we are going to pass down through an A and a B. Thread on 4A, and this first box is going to be worked completely normal. So 4A, and then add my B beads, just like normal. It's the next box and every box after that that's going to be a little different. So once I get those beads into place, then when I add this last bead, I'm going to go ahead and go through the A and the B, just like I normally would. And then I'm going to get into position. Now this time, because I'm going to work down this way, or if you need to work this way, it does not matter which direction. We just want to be coming out of this B right here that is closest to our bead work. We don't want to come out of this one here on this end. And so when I do that, I'm going to go through my A and my B. So we pick up 4A and come around back through that same bead again. Come through the very next A. Thread on 1B and go through an A. Thread on 1B and go through an A. And then here at the top, where we would normally put our B bead in, you'll notice that we have a B bead right there at it, and it's this one here. And this will connect our top to our bottom. So we go through the B bead that's there, and you want to make sure not to get your thread caught, like mine kind of got caught there. So I'm going to make sure I don't get that caught. And so that pops into place. And now I go through the next A and B. And now I'm evened out and good to go. So the same thing, we gotta be coming out over here. So I'm going to pass down through the beads to get there. Same way we start out, 4A. But this time, when I go through that very next A, you'll see that there's a B right there to go through that is going to connect those two together. So I'm going to go ahead and go through that and then through the next A. Thread on a B, go through the A, thread on a B, and go through the A and the B there, so that now that one is complete, and then I will just pass through the beads to come out over here. So I'm going to continue adding the row until I get all the way to that end box. So as you work on your project, you will run out of thread. So you can do whatever you're comfortable with. This is just how I personally like to do it. I do not like to put knots in my thread or in my project. So with my thread coming out of any of my beads, I'm going to go ahead and stitch through several beads to get rid of this thread. So I might come through these beads, and then I might come up here and come through these beads up here. Whatever I have to do, just however many beads, just so that I feel secure that this thread is not going to come out. I will pass through however many I need to kind of use up the thread and feel that it's secure. Because believe me, we are going to pass through these beads so many times that you're not going to have to worry about like the thread pulling apart. So I'll pass through several beads, and then I will trim this thread once I'm happy with that. So I feel pretty good about that now. So I'll take my little zapper here and get rid of that thread. And now I'm going to thread my needle with a new piece of thread. So I threaded my needle with a new piece of thread, and I'm going to leave myself only about 1 inch to 2 inches here out of this side. And you'll notice that I also took the moment to go ahead and thread my needle here onto the short tail thread, and I got rid of that thread as well. So I know that I need to exit out of that little bead right there, because that is where we need to be to start the new section. So it does not matter if I come up like this or down like this, it does not matter. But I'm going to come down through those beads, and I'm only going to pull the thread through about 6 to 8 inches. I'm going to hold the working thread, or that long tail now that I've got, and then I'm going to pass through several beads until I feel like I can tug this thread and this thread not moved. Then I'll know that it is nice and secure, and that I can keep stitching and beading right along with what I need to do. So I take and I pull this, and you see that that got just a little bit shorter. So that tells me that it's not secure yet. So I'm actually going to completely go through this circle right here, like one full time, so that now I can work back in this direction. This is why we don't want to use a thread that is thick. Okay, now see, that thread did not move. So now I know that that thread is nice and secure, and that I can go ahead and trim this. If you want to, a great thread that you might want to think about also using, or you could use on the bottom of the base, is that new Wildfire Ultra. This would work wonders on the base as well. All right, so now I'll thread my needle onto this long end of thread, and I will continue to work down my piece. Once you have the length of your piece, now what we're going to do is we're going to get into position, because we need to add the end here so that we can attach whatever kind of clasp we want. Now, I do want to show you, if you don't necessarily want a clasp, I also did one of these little snaps. Now, these snaps are actually, let me find my little baggies here. These little snaps are actually sew-on snaps that you get in the clothing department or like sewing department at a craft store. And you see there's all these different sizes. So these are actually those snaps. And I did this honestly because I made it too big. And so if you want to do that, you could always have the option of doing that as well. You can see here that I have come out a little bit further and did no embellishment so that then I could just tack that on and have a, you know, a solid bracelet like this too. So it's completely up to you how you want to do your ending. But you can see here, right now, my thread is coming out right here. The only issue is I needed to come out of one of these two beads, and I needed to come out towards the other bead. So I need to pass down through the beads, and this is going to be the easiest way to do this. I'm going to come down through an A. Now, I'm going to jump to the A that is directly across from it here. And I'm going to come down through, or in the opposite direction through that A. If I can get through the B at the same time, I'll try to do that as well. If not, there we go. So see, I'm going to see just a little tiny thread right there, but this is going to be completely covered up and you're not going to see that. I only do this here, and again, it's just so I can get into position without having to put any knots into my piece, so that now my thread is exiting exactly where I need it to be to start that next little thing. So if you want to add the clasp at this point, you can do that. I'm going to thread on 6 size 15 seed beads, and I'm going to come right across to the B here, and I'm going to come through that bead so it looks just like this. You can go ahead and attach the clasp. You could put like 3 15s to clasp and 3 15s. You can do whatever you want. If you don't think that's pretty enough for you, then, you know, do what you want. I personally really like how it looks on the actual finished piece here. That clasp is really shiny, so it's hard to, but I really like how it looks. So, you know, completely up to you. And then if you want, you can stitch around and reinforce this, which I would suggest. And then we want to come out of this bead right here to get into position to start the embellishments. All right, here comes the fun part. Here comes embellishments. So I'm exiting out of this top B bead, and I'm going to thread on 115, 111, 1 3mm bicone, 111, and 115. Now, the reason I'm not telling you A or B is because, honestly, use what color you like best. So you might want to, I'm going to lay this on here first and see if I like that. And I don't necessarily like all the blue, so I'm going to try my other one here and see what I think. I'm going to try both color schemes, and I think I'm going to go with that lighter scheme here. So you can see my thread is exiting to the left. So I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come straight down to the B that is opposite, and I'm going to come through that bead there. And then I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to pass back up through the 15, the 11, the 3mm, the 11, and the 15. And I'm going to kind of put my finger there as I pull, and I'm going to hold that and pull it straight up so it's nice and tight. And then I'm going to pass through the top B bead again so that I have a thread on each side down here at the bottom. And now once I pull this, I'll have a thread on each side of that B bead here at the top now. So from where my thread is exiting here, I'm going to pass through 1A and 1B. I'm going to thread on a 15, a mini, and a 15. Now, when I pick it up, I'm going to pick it up just like this. And I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to pass the needle straight down through the next B bead. And you want to kind of take your bead and you're going to lay it down on the top because we want to see the rounded side. If you see the flat side, then you need to take this off and fix it because we are not going to be, it's not going to be right. We want the rounded side. I'm going to pass down through the next A and B. I'm going to thread on a 15, a mini, and a 15. I'm going to come right across and come to the next B. Pass through the next A and B. Thread on a 15, a mini, and a 15. And I'm going to come right up through the next B. Pass through the next A and B. Thread on a 15, a mini, and a 15. And come across through the next B. I'm going to pass through the A and the B, and then through the 15 and the mini. And I'm going through that bottom hole that I've already been through. Now we have to do a step up. So to do a step up, I'm going to come up through the top hole of the same bead that my thread is exiting. And you'll notice I'm going the opposite direction. And I'm going to pull so that now I'm going to be working this way. And I'm going to go through the top hole or the top open hole of these mini Gemduo beads. And what this does is this pulls them together. And I'm going to go through and reinforce this one time. Don't skip this step. You need this reinforcement step. Now, when I get back to that original one that I started with here, I'm going to pick up my 15 Miyuki and go through. See how it pops in place there. Pick up the 15. And the reason I'm doing this as well is this is going to hide the thread. Right now that we see that green thread. See how you can see it here and here, and now you can't see it here because we've got those minis in place, or those little 15s. That is why we're popping those in place, to cover that up right there. That's what we're doing. So at this point, this is what we've got. I'm going to pass through the mini, the 15 and the mini, because I'm coming out here and I want to come out over here. So this is going to help to reinforce and to get us into position of where we need to be. This is another reason it's great for that size 11 needle. So I'm going to come through the open hole down here of the same mini. So I'm stepping down. Instead of stepping up this time, I'm stepping down. And then I'm going to pass through the 15. I'll flip it back here so you can see the 15 and the B. And then through the A and the B. Sometimes you're going to be able to get through these at one time, and other times you're just going to have to pick an angle and go through just the one bead at a time. Here we go. Okay, so now that I have this blue on the top, I don't really know how much I like this first one. But you know what? I'm not going to take it off because I'll just make sure that the very last one I do on this end, because we start and finish with one of these, I'll make sure it's done in the same color here on that end. So it looks intentional. So, you know. So this time I am going to do it like I originally had it. Sometimes I should just listen to myself. I'm going to pick up a 15, an 11, a 3, an 11, and a 15. Again, I'm going to come down opposite, so I'm going to come down here and pass through the B at the bottom. Oh yeah, I like that better. Should have listened to myself. Oh. All right, then I'm going to pass back up through the beads I just added. Pull that through, keep your finger on it to keep it pulled tight, and then we come back through the top B bead here. Pass down through an A and a B. And now we're ready to do our Gemduo section. So I'm going to do one more section here and show you. So it's a 15, a mini, and a 15. And we come down and we come through the B. And then through the A and the B. Pick up a 15, a mini, and a 15. Come across and go through the B, through an A and a B, the 15, the mini, and the 15, and come across through the B, and then we come through the A and the B, thread on a 15, a mini, and a 15, and then I come through this B here, I'm going to go through an A and a B, and it looks like I might be going through that 15 as well. Let me see what I can, there we go. And then through the mini, the bottom hole. Now we're going to do our step up. So I come through the top hole here. And first round, I'm just going through the open holes. I'm not adding anything. Reinforce this one time. I'm going to pick up a 15 and go through, and then I'm going to do this all the way around, popping in those 15 so it covers up the thread and we don't see that thread. Now I'm going to pass through to come out of this mini over here. Then once I do that, I'm going to pass down through the bottom hole of the mini, and then through the 15 and the B, and then through the A and the B. And then I'm going to continue to work this embellishment all the way down the bracelet. So once you have all of your embellishments complete, then you're ready to start adding the little loop here so that it'll look just like our end that we started with. So I'm exiting out of the very end B bead there, and I'm going to thread on 6 of my size 15 seed beads and come through the opposite B there. And then I'm going to reinforce this and finish off this thread. Once you have your threads completed, then you can use some jump rings or split rings to attach your clasp. So I'm using an oval jump ring today. They've become my favorite. I just absolutely love these. And so you thread on the first half of your clasp, thread it into the loop there on the end, and then close that ring, making sure that you get it really closed. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. So we will open our jump ring, attach our toggle bar, and then attach it on this end. And then we have our finished bracelet. Now you can see here, this is if we do it with a toggle, which is really pretty. On this bracelet, I did a magnetic closure, and you can see that I added a bit of chain on it as well, so that it works as like a safety catch. So that way, if I'm walking around and or shopping or something and this pops open, this will save me from losing the bracelet. So there is that. And then the third option, like I showed you, was, you know, you can always take one of these and tack one of these little guys on here. So you've got options. You have lots of options for your clasp. You do it however you want. And boy, look at how those different colors just really change the look of these. I absolutely love these, and I hope you guys will too. So friends, I hope you enjoyed learning how to make this double raw diamond bracelet. I do have the step-by-step written pattern available on my website at offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. We'll put a direct link to it there below the video. And I am going to have kits for all 3 of these colorways that I showed you today. Now, if you are purchasing that on like the day this video releases or just a couple of days after, right now the kits will be available for pre-order because I have everything ordered, but with the way that our mail system is right now, it feels like it takes 10 years to get something. So they'll be for pre-order, and as soon as everything arrives for the bracelet, we will ship your product out to you. So I love these. I cannot wait to see what you guys make with these and what your color schemes are. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will see you again next time. Bye-bye.